Hey everyone, in this video, we'll list out all of our reviews for each business on this review page. So right below all this information on the business, we're going to put all the reviews listed out down here. And we're also going to add a filter to allow the user to filter by the review number. So they can filter by all 1-star reviews, all 5-star, all 3-star, all 4-star, or whatever. And so we'll add that filter up here, kind of to the side here like we did with our last page. So if we go back here, we have the filters over here. I'm gonna add the same thing on this page over here. We have the filters over here to the left, and on the right over here, we'll list all the reviews on cards like we've used elsewhere on the website. So this will all be pretty familiar if you watch the other videos, but now we're just gonna do this on the business level to list out all the reviews here. I already have my server running, both my front end and back end running, and so we should be ready to go now. So let's go ahead and get started by listing out those reviews. So first things first, before we do that, I've noticed here that I still have all of my text here pressed against the edge of the screen. Let's go ahead and pull that away by adding some padding. So I'll find my root style, which goes around this grid, which goes around all of my data here. So on this root style here, I'm going to go ahead and just add some padding. Do a padding, colon, and we'll do, I guess, 0 on the top and bottom, and then 25 pixels on the left and right. We'll save that. Let's go ahead and take a look now at the website and see what it looks like. And now it has some gap here, so it's not pressed against the edge of the screen. And that looks a lot better. Okay, let's go ahead now and start listing out the reviews. So what we want to do here is we want to go ahead and create another container. So we have this container that holds all of our data for the top half. We're going to go ahead and make another container and put that below this container here, but it's still inside this layout component. So right here, I'll do a grid, add container to make this a container. And we'll go ahead and close off this grid right here. And I'm going to go ahead and create an item inside of here. And we want 2 items inside this grid. First will be on the left. We'll have the actual filter itself. And so we'll go ahead and create another grid for the filter. This will be an item. And we'll do on extra small screens, it will be the full width. On medium, it will only do 3 out of 12 for the width there. And now inside of here, we can go ahead and add in our filters. So this will be very similar to what we had before on the category page. So if you follow that video, this should look pretty familiar. We'll create a box first, and we'll come back and add our classes later. So we'll just go ahead and just create a box. Inside this box, we'll create a grid with a container. Now inside this container grid here, we're going to go ahead and put an item that takes up the full width of this container. So do a grid with XS equaling 12. And now inside of this grid here, I'm going to go ahead and put my title. So we'll do a typography component for a title. This will have a variant equaling to H5. And we'll go ahead and put the text to be filter the reviews. We'll go to close off this typography component. And now I'm going to go and close off this grid here. And I'm going to close off this grid here. Close off the box. And we'll close off this grid right here. And that should be all that we need to close out. Now, before I test this, I'm going to go ahead and grab the import statement from the repository. So I'll have the typo in here. This will just import everything we need. So I'll go ahead and just grab that and paste that right there. And I will add in some extra things. We'll add to use a divider. All of our select form stuff we'll need for our filtering and everything else. But now with that title added, let's go ahead and save that and check this out. So now you'll see we have a title here that says filter the reviews, and it's only taking up 1/3 of the page, but you can't really tell right now because there's nothing else there. So let's go ahead and keep going and build the rest of this filter form here. And so like the other filter form we had on our categories page, we're going to go ahead and use some form controls and some select components to make this filter work. So now I'm going to go outside of this grid item here. I actually didn't put item on this. This should have an item on this grid here. But below this grid item, I'm going to create another grid item. So we'll go right here, looks like. We'll do another grid with item XS equaling 12. And now inside of here, I can go ahead and build that component out. And so just like the previous video, we'll go ahead and create a form control with a full width prop on it. And now inside of here, we'll create an input label ID equaling reviews, and we'll do review, and we'll close off this input label. Then we'll go create a select component so we can select the different options. And in this case, we'll have a label ID, and this will set to our label ID for our input label, which will be reviews. We're going to have an ID on this one being reviews component. And then below this, we'll have a value and on change, but for now we'll skip that because we don't have that set up yet. So next, now we have our select input setup. We need to go ahead inside the select component. So if I put my closing tag here, I'm going to make sure we're inside of the select component. I need to create all of my different options, and we'll use that using the menu item component. So do a menu item and give us each of these a value, and the value will just be the number of stars. So this first one will be 1. The text will be 1 plus stars. And this will close off this menu item. And then we'll go ahead and just copy this down 4 more times. So we're going to copy that, paste that. So we have enough for 5. This next one will be 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus, and this last one will be 5 stars. And we'll change our values to match. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, perfect. Now we can go ahead and close off our form control below our select. So this form control should wrap our inputs label and the select component. And then that should close off our grid there, and that should close off our container grid. Okay. And now we'll add one more item into this container grid. So after this first grid here, I'll do another grid with a item prop on it. We'll close off this grid component right there. Now inside of here, we're going to put our button. So inside of here, we'll do button, and we will do a variant equaling to outlined, a color equaling secondary, and we'll add some classes on this later, but for now that should be fine. And we'll go ahead and put the text to be clear filter. So just like the last video, we want a way to clear out the filter values if we set anything there, and we'll do it with this button right there. And I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and save this and try it out and see what it looks like. Okay, so we have our select input here. We can select a different review number here. That all works good. This doesn't work yet and doesn't look great because our styles aren't there yet, but for now this is fine. So let's go ahead now and add some styles to make this look better. Will be to pull this away from the edge here a little bit. So let's go ahead and add a class for that. So we jump inside of our text editor here and we look at our classes. We have this root class, which I'll go ahead and just reuse this on the parent grid. So on the, let's see here, this parent grid container that wraps around everything. Let's go ahead and add the class name here. So do class name equals classes.root. We'll save that and see what this looks like. Okay, so that pulls it away, makes it look a little better. And just as a reminder, you can get the classes with how we have it set up by going classes.the class name. That's because up here we set the variable classes equal to the useStyles function, which returns all of our styles. So classes.root will get this class right here. Another thing is we forgot to add our divider. There's no divider underneath here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in real quick. So we'll go below the, where is it? The title right here, and we'll add a divider component. Just like that. Save that. Come back here. And now we have that divider underneath our title there. Okay, perfect. The next thing we want to add is a button, or is a class on our button. Right now it's pressed up against here. It doesn't look very good. Let's go ahead and add a class here to give that some more space. So we'll go ahead and jump back into our code, come down to our button down here, And we'll go ahead and add a class name equaling to classes dot clear filters. And then we'll come up here to the top. And we'll add another class right here. And we will add clear filters. And we'll give this a margin top of 15 pixels. We'll save that. Come back here. And that looks a lot better. Okay, now the next step is to actually list out reviews, and then we'll implement this actual filter logic once we have some reviews here to actually, mess with. So we look at our code. Right now, we're bringing in the business, which has the reviews on it. So if I jump into my API just to show this, I go to localhost 8000, and I jump into the businesses API here, or the businesses route here. You'll see here on this business one, we have the reviews that has a list of all the reviews. So all we need to do is grab this reviews field here, and if there's reviews here, we'll go ahead and loop through that and display them all in their own card. So we jump back into our code. We'll go ahead and create a new grid first. So we'll find, so right here we have our grid that has the MD of 3. This is for our filter. So we'll create another grid right here, the item with an XS equaling 12 and an MD equaling 9. And that will fill up the rest. 9 plus 3 equals 12. And so that will fill up the rest of the width of the screen. We'll go and close off that grid right there. And now inside this grid here, we can use the map function to map over the reviews. So what we'll do here is we'll add some curly braces to add some JavaScript within our JSX. First, we'll check if there's a business. If there's a business and there's a business dot reviews, then we'll go ahead and map over this. Then we'll do a business dot reviews dot map. And then we'll add review arrow function. And we'll add not curly braces, we want to add just parentheses. If you put curly braces here instead of parentheses, you'll get some weird issues of it not displaying if you follow the code like how I'm doing it. So make sure these are just normal parentheses and not square curly braces. And this review will be the variable that sets it on each iteration. So every review will be set in this review variable. Okay, now inside of this map here, we're going to go ahead and create a card. And we'll add some, let's see here. Let's go ahead and close off that card for now. And we'll go ahead and close off the closing tag for this card. Now instead of here, let's go ahead and create another box. Now inside this box here, we'll go ahead and create a card content. And this card content, we'll close this off. There, inside this card content, we're going to go ahead and first show the average review component. This will be just the actual graphical representation of our reviews. It will just be this thing right here. So it will show the number of stars for this review. And in our average review component, we need to pass in a value, and this value will be the stars number. So in this case, it'll be this variable here. So review dot stars should give us that number to pass in right there. Okay, we can go ahead and close off. Actually, we'll just add it all right in one tag right there and close it off right there. Now below this average review component, we're going to create a typography component, and this typography will have a variant equaling to h5, and this will be the title of the review. So we can get that by putting curly braces and do review.title to get the title of that review, and we'll close off the typography tag right here. There we go. Now we're going to create one more. So we'll do a typography, and we'll do a variant equaling to subtitle 1, which will give us this subtitle text here. And then we'll go ahead and for now we'll close off this typography, and this will be the actual content of the review. which we saved in the review content variable field or in the database field. So we'll do review.content to get the review content out and put it right there. We're going to close off this typography component right here. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and see what this is looking like. Okay, there we go. So there's all 4 of our reviews. Obviously right now it doesn't look that great because we haven't added any styles yet, but we're getting each review listed out like it should with the correct star number up here. That's all working great. Let's go ahead now and add some styles to make this look a little better. So I guess you're looking at this, what we'll need to do is add some spacing between these 2 components, add some spacing between each of these reviews as well. So that will be pretty easy to do. Back inside of our code, we can go and add some classes. We'll first go ahead and add a class up on this grid itself. So we'll go ahead and add a class name, and this will equal classes.list. Maybe we'll try that. And then we'll come up here and create a list class, and this will just add some padding. Actually, we'll add some margins. We'll do a margin left of, do a margin left of like maybe 15 pixels or something. We'll try that first, see what that looks like. Oh, you know what? Instead of doing this, let's try something else. Let's actually not add a class there. Instead, what we'll do is we'll come down here, come down to where we put that class on. Let's get rid of that there. Let's go ahead and change this to maybe an 8 instead. And then we'll go and just center that text. So we'll add a class, we'll add a backer class actually. We'll need to put a class here. This will equal classes.list. And we'll just go ahead and center the text there, yeah, we'll do a text align center. So here we'll do a list. Or actually, let's go ahead and just do a margin auto. So we'll do a margin, and we'll do 0 top and bottom and left and right being auto, and that should center everything. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we have some spacing there and some spacing over there. Okay, and that fixes that. Let's go ahead now and add a class to our card, add some spacing between each card. So we'll find our card right here, and we'll add a class name here. And it'll be classes.card. Now we'll go ahead and add some styles up here at the top. Add a card, and this will be a margin top of, we'll say, 25 pixels. Let's try that first and see what that looks like. There we go. Okay, now it's spreading it out better and creating some space in between each card. Okay, that looks a lot better. Let's go ahead now and implement this filter logic to actually filter reviews, because if I click, 5 stars, nothing changes right now, and this clear filters doesn't do anything either. So let's go ahead and implement that logic now. So first things first, I need to create a piece of state to hold this review field, select field, whatever value it is. We need to create a useState hook to store that value. So we'll jump back into the code up here. We need to go ahead and import useState. So import, and then in curly braces, useState from React. Now at the top of this page here, I'm going to go ahead and do const review set review. So the state value will be review, and the function to change that value will be set review. That equals use state, and the default will be just an empty string. Okay, and now down here inside of the form, or we're setting this at, we're going to set the value here equaling to review, and then we're going to go ahead and set the on change value prop equal to set review. Actually, we'll do this. We'll create a function like this, and this will be set review, and we'll pass in the value of this form. So we'll get the e value, the event, which will have the value for this field of this form here, or the select input, I should say. And we can get that value by going e.target.value, just like that. Go ahead and save that. Now our form should still work the same way. We can select our values, nothing is changing yet. Now let's go ahead and clear that use state value whenever I click this button. And so to do that, I can go ahead and find my button down here, and we'll add an on click to it. So here we'll do an on click, and what we'll do here is we'll call our review set review back to an empty string. So now when I come here and I click this button, it clears out that value. So if I click on 4 stars, say clear filters, it goes away. So now we're able to clear out the filter value by clicking this button. Now let's go ahead and take that use state value and filter the actual list itself. And so what we want to do here is if we click 3+ stars, that means anything below 3 stars should go away. If it's equal to or greater than whatever value is here, it should stay on the screen. So I did 4+ stars. My first view, it was okay. It should both go away. And we should only have this one and this one with random text. So to do this, what we'll do is we'll come down to our map. And we want to add one more check before we actually list out this card component, before we actually render this card component on the screen. So what we'll do here is below this, we will type reviews, which is our state value, is less than or equal to review.stars. And then we'll go ahead and open up some parentheses here, and we'll put this inside of that. So we'll cut this out here, come inside of here, and paste that right there. Okay, let's go and fix these indents like that, and we'll get rid of this extra space like that. So now what we're doing is we're looping through all of these businesses, then we're checking, is the review state value less than or equal to the current review we're on and the star value for that review. Okay, let's go now and test that out. So 4+ stars, everything's going away. What happened here? So we have an issue, looks like. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's correctly filtering. Okay, so it looks like we're having an issue with reviews not being defined. What did I mess up here? So, I call it review, not reviews. Let's do review filter. That makes a little more sense here. So do constant review filter, and then you'll set reviews. We'll do set review filter as well. So I'll need to make a few changes with making that name change. So first I need to come down here and do set review filter, and this will be review filter. And I'll also go to my button here and also set review filter. Okay, that makes a little more sense. And that should fix this problem here as soon as I change this reviews here to review filter. Okay, now let's go back here and try this again. Okay, now I click 5 stars, they all go away. If I click 4 stars, these two that are 4 or above come back. If I click 3 stars, then we get everything above 3. And then I don't think anything 2+ or 1+ also works. If I clear it all out, they all come back. So I click 5 stars and hit clear, and they all come back. So now this logic is all working fine. We now have all of our views showing up here below the business information, and we can filter it by the number of reviews. So you can get down to either the best reviews or the worst, depending on what you're looking for when you're deciding whether or not to go to this restaurant. And that is really it for this video. We got this basic list here working, and now we have a really basic page here working, and now we can go on to some more advanced stuff. I'd like to get into some user authentication here soon. And so now that we have all of this set up, we can go ahead and get into that. So that will be coming soon. All of the code for this video will be in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.